There is something your grandmother kept on the kitchen shelf that never expired. Archaeologists have found honey in Egyptian tombs that is over 3,000 years old, still perfectly edible, still medicinal, still exactly what it always was. Your grandmother understood honey the way people used to understand it before it became just another item in the baking aisle. She knew which jar to buy. She knew the difference between the golden syrup sold in bear-shaped bottles and the raw, unfiltered honey that still smelled of the hive. She knew which ailment called for honey taken plain, which one called for honey in warm water, which one called for honey mixed with something from her pantry, and she kept a jar within arm's reach at all times, not for sweetness, for what it could do. Honey is one of the most studied natural substances in all of medical history, over 4,000 years of documented human use. And in the last 2 decades, a growing body of clinical research has confirmed what your grandmother's grandmother already knew. Today we are counting down 15 honey remedies that outperform products costing 20 times more. And number 1 is the remedy that surprises almost every person who hears it, because it outperforms a product most people buy every single month. Let's begin. Soothing a sore throat and persistent cough. Before throat lozenges, before cough syrup, before the pharmacy existed, there was honey. Your grandmother dissolved a tablespoon of raw honey in warm water or herbal tea at the first sign of throat irritation. She gave it to every sick child who came to her, and here is the remarkable thing. The World Health Organization officially recognizes honey as a demulcent, a substance that forms a protective film over irritated mucous membranes. A landmark study published in the Archives of Pediatrics and Adolescent Medicine compared honey directly against dextromethorphan, the active ingredient in most over-the-counter cough syrups, and found that honey performed better on every measure: better cough suppression, better sleep quality for sick children, better parental assessment of symptom severity. A bottle of children's cough syrup costs $8 to $12. A jar of raw honey costs $6 to $10 and lasts for months. Your grandmother never bought cough syrup. She did not need to. Healing burns and wounds faster. In your grandmother's kitchen, a burn from the stove was met with calm. She cooled it under water first. Then she reached for the honey. Honey has been used as a wound dressing for over 4,000 years, and modern clinical research has validated every aspect of why it works. Honey is naturally low in moisture, which means it draws fluid out of wound tissue, reducing swelling and creating an environment where bacteria cannot thrive. It releases hydrogen peroxide slowly as it contacts the wound, providing continuous antimicrobial action without damaging healthy tissue. Its natural pH of 3.2 to 4.5 creates an acidic environment that most pathogenic bacteria find inhospitable. A 2009 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Clinical Nursing found that honey-treated wounds healed faster than wounds treated with standard antiseptics and dressings. Your grandmother applied honey directly to minor burns and cuts. She covered them with a clean cloth. She changed the dressing once a day. They healed cleanly, they healed faster, and they rarely scarred, improving sleep naturally. There was a ritual in your grandmother's house before bed: warm milk, a teaspoon of honey, sometimes a small piece of toast with honey spread across it. She was not doing this for pleasure, she was doing it for sleep. Raw honey triggers a controlled release of insulin, which allows tryptophan to cross the blood-brain barrier more easily. Tryptophan converts to serotonin, serotonin converts to melatonin, the hormone that regulates the sleep-wake cycle. At the same time, honey gently replenishes liver glycogen stores before sleep. The liver burns glycogen through the night to fuel the brain. When glycogen runs low, the brain triggers a stress response, releasing cortisol and adrenaline. You wake at 3 a.m. with your mind racing. A teaspoon of honey before bed keeps the liver stocked through the night. The brain does not trigger that response. You sleep through. Your grandmother slept deeply and woke rested. This was one of the reasons why, treating acne and skin blemishes. Your grandmother's skin was clear. She did not use commercial face washes or specialty treatments. She used honey. Raw honey, particularly Manuka honey, contains hydrogen peroxide, methylglyoxal, and B-defensin-1, compounds with demonstrated antibacterial activity against Propionibacterium acnes, the primary bacterial cause of acne. Apply a thin layer of raw honey directly to the affected area. Leave for 20 to 30 minutes. Rinse with cool water. A 2012 study published in the International Wound Journal found that Manuka honey was effective against all 17 clinical isolates of P. acnes tested, more effective than several commonly used topical antibiotics. A tube of specialty acne treatment costs $15 to $40. A jar of raw Manuka honey, used for face care and dozens of other purposes, costs $15 to $25 and lasts for months. Your grandmother's face was not her vanity project. It was the result of practical daily care with what she had: soothing acid reflux and digestive discomfort. After a heavy meal, your grandmother did not reach for antacids. She took a teaspoon of raw honey, sometimes mixed into warm water with a little lemon. Honey coats the esophagus and stomach lining, forming a protective layer that reduces the burning sensation of acid reflux. Its antimicrobial properties act on Helicobacter pylori, the bacteria responsible for most stomach ulcers and a significant contributor to chronic acid reflux. A 1994 study demonstrated that honey was effective against all strains of H. pylori tested. Antacid tablets cost $8 to $15 per pack. Most people buy them regularly, indefinitely, because they treat the symptom without addressing the cause. Your grandmother took honey after meals. Her digestion was comfortable, her stomach was settled, and she did not have a bottle of antacids in her medicine cabinet, healing chapped and cracked lips. There is a particular kind of cold that leaves your lips raw and cracked. Your grandmother had something for that. She dipped her finger into the honey jar and applied it directly to her lips. She left it in place. She reapplied throughout the day. Honey is a humectant. It draws moisture from the air and holds it against the surface it is applied to. It is also an emollient. It softens and protects the surface it coats. And its antimicrobial properties prevent the cracks from becoming infected. A tube of medicated lip balm costs $4 to $8. Most of them contain petroleum-derived ingredients that sit on the surface of the lip without actually healing the skin beneath. Honey heals, not just soothes. Your grandmother's lips were soft and healthy because she treated them with something that actually repaired the tissue rather than just coating it. Halfway through, and we have already covered honey remedies that outperform some of the most commonly purchased products in every household in the country. I want you to think for a moment about the jar sitting in your pantry. Is it raw? Is it unfiltered? Does it still have the comb pieces or wax particles floating in it? Does it smell like something alive? If the answer is no, the honey you have may not carry all of the benefits we are discussing today. Processed honey, pasteurized and filtered at high temperatures, loses most of its beneficial enzymes, pollens, and antimicrobial compounds in the processing. It is sweet, but it is not medicine. Your grandmother knew which jar to buy: raw, unfiltered, local when possible, dark in color, strong in smell. That is the honey that healed. Stick with me, because the remedies in the second half are the ones that most genuinely surprise people, and number one is something almost nobody expects: relieving seasonal allergies. Your grandmother drank local honey in warm water every morning through allergy season. She called it her spring tonic. Local raw honey contains trace amounts of the pollen produced by local plants, the same pollen that triggers allergic responses in sensitive individuals. Consuming small, regular amounts of this pollen through honey is thought to work similarly to allergen immunotherapy, gradually desensitizing the immune system to the local allergens through repeated low-level exposure. Clinical evidence for this is promising, though still developing. But the principle has been used for generations with consistent anecdotal results. Your grandmother was not conducting a clinical trial. She was observing that the people in her community who ate local honey regularly seemed to suffer less in allergy season. She drew the obvious conclusion. She acted on it. And she breathed easily through every spring, healing mouth ulcers and canker sores. Canker sores are among the most persistently uncomfortable minor ailments. They heal slowly. They make eating and drinking uncomfortable. Commercial treatments, numbing gels, and specialist rinses cost $8 to $15 per tube and treat the discomfort without significantly accelerating healing. Apply raw honey directly to the ulcer 4 times daily after meals and before bed. A study published in the Quintessence International Journal found that honey was significantly more effective than both a corticosteroid cream and a placebo in reducing canker sore pain, size, and healing time. The honey creates a protective barrier over the ulcer. Its antimicrobial compounds prevent secondary infection. Its anti-inflammatory properties reduce the pain and swelling around the sore. Your grandmother pressed raw honey onto mouth sores. She did it gently, she did it consistently, and the sores healed faster than they had any right to, nourishing and conditioning hair. Your grandmother's hair was remarkable, not because she used expensive products, because she knew something the hair care industry is built on obscuring. Mix 2 tablespoons of raw honey with 3 tablespoons of olive oil or coconut oil. Warm slightly. Apply from roots to ends on damp hair. Cover with a shower cap. Leave for 30 minutes. Rinse thoroughly. Shampoo and condition as normal. The honey is a humectant. It draws moisture into the hair shaft and seals it in. The oil provides lipid replenishment to damaged, dry, or processed hair. Together, they produce the kind of deep conditioning that professional hair treatments, costing $20 to $50 per session, attempt to replicate with synthetic ingredients. Your grandmother did this once a week. Her hair was healthy, shiny, and strong. She never sat in a salon chair for a conditioning treatment in her life, relieving dry and eczema-prone skin. Eczema is one of the most difficult chronic skin conditions to manage. Commercial creams, particularly prescription corticosteroid creams, work by suppressing the immune response in the skin. They provide relief, but they do not heal, and with long-term use, they thin the skin and can cause significant side effects. Your grandmother applied raw honey to irritated, dry, and eczema-prone skin as a matter of course. A 2003 study published in Complementary Therapies in Medicine found that a mixture of honey, beeswax, and olive oil significantly reduced the severity of eczema symptoms in the majority of patients tested without any of the side effects associated with corticosteroid treatment. Apply raw honey to the affected area. Leave for 20 to 30 minutes. Rinse with cool water. Your grandmother knew that the skin, like everything else, responds best to things that support its natural function rather than override it. Treating dandruff and scalp conditions. The scalp is an ecosystem. When that ecosystem is out of balance, dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, and chronic scalp irritation follow. Most anti-dandruff shampoos cost $8 to $15 per bottle and require ongoing use to maintain results. They manage the condition, they do not resolve it. Dilute raw honey with warm water, about 10% honey to 90% water. Massage into the scalp. Leave for 2 to 3 hours. Rinse thoroughly. A study published in the European Journal of Medical Research found that patients with seborrheic dermatitis and chronic dandruff who applied diluted honey to the scalp once weekly experienced complete resolution of itching and scaling within 4 weeks. No relapse was observed at 6 months in patients who continued weekly application. Your grandmother's remedy for scalp problems was not shampooing more, it was honey, and it worked permanently rather than temporarily, boosting energy naturally. Your grandmother did not drink energy drinks. She did not take caffeine supplements. She did not crash at 3 p.m. and reach for something to pick her up. She spread honey on her breakfast every morning, a small spoonful in her tea, a drizzle over her oats. Honey is composed of glucose and fructose in a ratio that produces a uniquely sustained energy release. The glucose is absorbed quickly, providing immediate energy. The fructose is absorbed more slowly, providing sustained energy over the following hours. This natural 2-stage energy release prevents the spike and crash that sugar and caffeine produce. Athletes have known this for decades. Greek Olympians fueled their performance with honey before competition. Your grandmother did not think of herself as an athlete, but she fueled herself like one. She had sustained, reliable energy throughout the day, every day, because of what she spread on her breakfast. Healing, cracked heels, and rough skin. Your grandmother's hands were strong. They had worked hard for decades, and they were soft. That is not an accident. She applied raw honey to her hands and feet regularly, sometimes mixed with a small amount of olive oil. She wrapped her feet in cotton socks after applying honey before bed and let it work through the night. By morning, even deeply cracked heels had softened and begun to close. Specialist heel creams and foot treatments cost $10 to $25 per tube. They contain humectants and emollients that approximate what honey does naturally, at a fraction of the efficacy and multiple times the cost. Honey draws moisture into the cracked skin. Its antimicrobial properties keep the cracks clean and prevent infection. Its enzymes gently break down the hardened, dead skin layers that cause the cracking. Your grandmother's hands told the story of a life of hard work, but they were cared for. She made sure of that, supporting gut health and the microbiome. The gut microbiome, the community of trillions of bacteria living in the digestive system, is now understood to influence everything from immune function to mental health. Disrupting it has consequences that extend far beyond digestion. Honey is one of the most effective natural prebiotics known. It contains oligosaccharides, complex carbohydrates that the beneficial bacteria in the gut use as fuel. Feeding those bacteria consistently promotes the growth of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium species, the bacteria most associated with digestive health, immune function, and mental well-being. A probiotic supplement costs $20 to $40 per month. It delivers a finite number of bacterial strains in a capsule. Raw honey, taken daily, feeds the diverse community of beneficial bacteria that already live in your gut, supporting what is already there rather than introducing something external. Your grandmother never heard of the microbiome, but she fed hers every single day, and hers was healthy. And number one, the remedy that surprises almost every person who hears it. Raw honey as a complete wound antiseptic, outperforming commercial antiseptic products entirely. Savlon, Dettol, Betadine. These are the products most households keep in the medicine cabinet for cuts, scrapes, and infected wounds. They cost $6 to $15 per bottle. They work. But here is what most people do not know. Raw honey, particularly Manuka honey, rated at UMF 10 plus DAO, has been shown in multiple clinical trials to outperform standard antiseptic agents for wound healing, not match them, outperform them. A 2011 review published in the Asian Pacific Journal of Tropical Biomedicine examined honey's wound healing properties across 22 clinical studies. The conclusion was clear. Honey promoted faster wound healing, reduced wound size more rapidly, reduced bacterial contamination more effectively, and produced better cosmetic outcomes than conventional wound treatments in the majority of studies reviewed. Honey works against antibiotic-resistant bacteria, including MRSA, that conventional antiseptics struggle to control. It maintains its antimicrobial properties without causing the tissue damage that chemical antiseptics can produce. It keeps wounds moist, which modern wound care science has established is critical for optimal healing. It releases hydrogen peroxide gradually, providing continuous antimicrobial coverage without the tissue toxicity of direct hydrogen peroxide application. Your grandmother applied honey to wounds without hesitation. She covered them with a clean cloth. She changed the dressing daily. She never once worried about infection taking hold, because it rarely did. A jar of raw Manuka honey costs $15 to $25. It replaces every antiseptic product in your medicine cabinet. It lasts for months. It never expires. It works better. Your grandmother knew this. She just called it honey. 15 remedies, all of them from one jar, a jar that costs less than a box of cold medicine and outperforms products across your kitchen, your bathroom, and your medicine cabinet. Your grandmother kept honey within arm's reach at all times, not for sweetness, for what it could do. Now you know what she knew. Which remedy surprised you most? Which one are you going to try first? Tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to know, and if your grandmother used honey in a way I did not cover today, please share it. Some of the most valuable remedies in this community have come from the comments section, from people whose grandmothers taught them something mine did not. If this video meant something to you, please share it with someone who needs it, not just subscribe. Share. Because the knowledge your grandmother carried is worth more than any product on any shelf, and it deserves to be remembered. I will see you in the next one.